Entrepreneurs in general, we talked about it before, but really understanding the problem space that you're solving for. And a friend of mine, David Kidder, used to always say, figure out if it's a painkiller or a vitamin, right? Like, is this something that people want to have, it's nice, or something that people really need? And that I think is important for entrepreneurs in any sector, to be solving, the more important problems. And of course, I think societally right now, people are focused on more important problems, which is great. I think in the fintech space in particular, the ability to traverse not only the startup world, but also being able to partner and collaborate with incumbents is something that has helped fuel success of a lot of companies. That doesn't mean necessarily that your whole business model has to be about partnership or collaboration, but a lot of the challenges in financial services are really big, meaty challenges, and they're unlikely to be solved by one fintech alone, and frankly, they're unlikely to be solved by one incumbent alone. So having that capability, not only of building the company that you want to build, but thinking broadly about the network that you want to create, the incumbents that you want to partner with, the academic centers that you want to partner with. I think that's going to become more and more important, particularly as finance becomes just kind of a part of what so many companies will do. Sort of like years and years ago when I first moved to Silicon Valley, people would talk about tech companies, and now people will say, well, every company is a tech company. I think we're moving to a place in the not too distant future where every company will also be a fintech company, right? Any company that has dollars or currency associated with it. And so being able not only to have your idea and solve a real problem, but think about that network of other companies and organizations you want to work with, I think is an ingredient for success. The only people who can navigate a company are people who have connections inside the company. It perpetuates a lot of inequity. And so at Citi, we're incredibly committed to gender equity and racial equity. And part of that, is not just sort of the corporate commitment, but how does that flow down into what we do in each of our organizations? So at Citi Ventures, we have a group of people that sit with our investors, but their role is to help startups navigate. And I will tell you that a startup navigating a large company, it's not just about knowing where to go. And that's sort of like saying, I want to climb Mount Everest, let me get some advice, and asking someone for advice, and they say, like, the top is that way. Yeah, well, no kidding, I can look up and see where the top is. That's not the hard part. The hard part is how to get there, which way to go, when to go. And these are all things that are important when you're navigating a company. So we have a group of folks who are called catalysts, and what they do is they help people make those decisions. They help understand what the use case is for a startup. Because they know the company, they're able then to say, which business units might be most interested in that kind of use case, or which functions. They also know things like timing. If next week is budget review, it's just not a good time, right? You should wait to have your meeting until the following week when someone would have more time to focus on what you're pitching. So I think it's really important. We've done this at Citi Ventures for many, many years. And it's really cut down the amount of time that entrepreneurs have to spend trying to navigate, because of course, an entrepreneur's most precious resource isn't money, it's time, right? There's never enough time in the day for them to do all the things that they have on their plate. So anything that we can do to help make things more efficient and more effective will help them scale their businesses. I spent a lot of my time talking to people about change, talking to people about disruption, talking about how, even if things had been one way for a long period of time, they might not be that way forever. Today, I don't spend any of my time talking about that. I think, the past year and a half has shown us that the world changes at an ever increasing rate, and that, think 2 years ago, we would have been talking about supply chain efficiency. Now we're talking about supply chain resilience, right? Just so many things were fundamentally altered that I think it has, again, if one were to look for very small silver linings out of a tremendous amount of ongoing tragedy. I think it's altered the way people think about the world, and it's opened up a lot of possibility for people saying, well, if the world is changing this way, how can I influence it? What else can I do, rather than just kind of going along? So I think I would like to hope that we have all recognized that change is just a natural and accelerating part of life. And our job is to shape that in the best way that we can, for the best outcomes for, for our employees, for our clients, for our communities. And then we'll have to get up the next day and do it again.